Welcome to the Life of Phys Podcast, a place for artists to share their creative journey, discuss mental health, and the importance of building a positive community. I'm your host, Tyson Martin, and on this episode I have David Lacy. David is an Army veteran, a lifestyle boudoir and erotic photographer based in Washington State, and we had a great conversation about everything. So let's get to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm David from Culture to Crown. You can call me David or Culture or whatever. I'm a boudoir and portrait photographer here in Washington State, Army veteran.
It's all good, man. So as we were talking before the show, one of my previous guests here threw something out. We're just gonna get right into it. We're gonna go, hey, at iFocus Photo. David's got a little bone to pick with you.
Yeah, you know what? I love Xana. We always have good interactions, and I'm a great admirer of her. And up until this point, I haven't had any critiques of her. But when she was on the podcast yesterday, she said that she was in the Marine Corps and that it was the toughest branch of the military. And I just like chill went down my spine, you know. I appreciate all veterans, me being one, and I don't normally do the infighting amongst branches. Even when we do, it's all love. But I was like, I don't know about that, you know. It's this she's 99.9% an amazing person, but nobody's perfect, you know.
We're just kidding, Xana. We love you.
love you to death. Love you to death.
we were talking in the beginning, and it came. He said that, and he's like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Hold that thought. We're gonna throw it out here, get a little static, but it's all love. It's all community over competition here."
Yeah, for sure. I did make a mistake. I remember because I saw her post in her story once, her in uniform, and my short-term memory loss. Like I just remember seeing her post about being in the military, and we were at one of her events that she threw. And I called her. I think I said something about her being a former soldier, and she stopped, like looking me dead in the eye, like a parent disappointed in a child. It was like I was a Marine. I'm like, oh, my bad.
You know what? Like I was saying to you there, David. I'm a huge supporter of the things you do. My father was a Marine. I have a brother.
Awesome.
I have a brother who's in the Navy. I have a brother who is in the Army, and I have a brother who works for NATO.
Okay.
So anything and everything you guys do, I'm 100% behind you. All I can say is thank you for your service.
I appreciate that.
So now we'll get a
Thank
little
you for your appreciation.
Now we're going to get a little deeper. We're going to talk about what we're here to talk about, your art. So
right, great.
You know what? Obviously, I was introduced to you through the Seattle Raw Plus community and getting those walks you guys did, our group chat. But man, I see your work and your outdoor portrait work on especially the one that's on the fire escape. That one hit me. That one I was like, oh, that's a mixture of the things I love and the things I can't do.
Right.
So
right. I know you love stairs. I think we were talking about that.
I do. There's something about stairs and garbage cans. I'm weird, I guess. What got you? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say I was down in Portland like a few months ago, and they in the mall down there they had they got an art gallery now, and they promote a lot of local artists. And there was one display in there that was this woman, I believe, who just goes around on trash day and takes pictures of people's like dumpsters on the street, and it was amazing. It was like one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. I was like, this is gorgeous. I've never wanted to hang pictures of trash cans on my wall, but now I do. You know what I mean? Like it was awesome. Yeah.
So Portland, by the way, is my hometown. That's where I was born and raised. I moved to Canada when I was 15, and I've been here ever since. My kids are here, so this is where I stay. When you picked up a camera, what made you head towards the boudoir portrait kind of niche of it?
So I was very young when I first picked up a camera. Had point and shoots and whatnot back, early teens. And used to spend my money on the newest point and shoot. And back then couldn't actually afford a more expensive camera, something that would let me deal with settings and all that stuff. But what I could afford to do was go to like flea markets and thrift shops and pick up books on photography. So I picked up a whole lot of books on photography and was just always amazed at, the techniques that people were using. And also we had a subscription to National Geographic, so despite what I do now, like my end goal or dream is to be taking pictures of cheetahs in Africa or something like that, just gotta, if I hit the lottery, that's where you're going to see me next. So yeah, there was that. I was always interested, from early on. While I was in the Army, actually, my first deployment, I think I picked up my first camera that would, that actually allows you to play around. It was a fancier point and shoot. You know what I mean? I just, while deployed, I always I always had this feeling like I should be documenting the things that's going on that I'm seeing. Progressively more deployments. I have 3 total, by the way. And yeah, the cameras just got better. And I think I finally got into a DSLR on my 3rd deployment. My unit was one of the last units there. We were actually packing up everything to leave out of Iraq, and I was, man, I really want to, have I document what's going on. It was an amazing thing and it was timeless and everything. So I bought a Canon 60D, not knowing anything about DSLRs really back then. I think by the time the deployment was over, I had ordered 6 or 7 lenses off of I can't remember where I ordered them from back then because we didn't have Amazon. Yeah, and I was locked into it at that point. As far as going into the boudoir work, I got back. I was in a relationship, and the person that I was with wanted to model. She had dreams to be a model, and I had dreams of expanding my photography skills. So we started doing a lot of pictures there, and then I think we did a boudoir set and posted it, and her friends were like, "Oh my God, that's amazing! I really want to do it." And so then that expanded me shooting with more people. Yeah. After that, put down the camera for a while after I got out of the Army, moved back up here to Washington and picked up a camera again. And now I'm dealing with my current clientele and shooting more. Really. But anyway, so yeah, I jumped in the clientele that I currently have, which primarily is, I don't know, I'm sure you're familiar that the Pacific Northwest has a staple of bikini barista stands. And I want to say like 80% of my clients are from there. I met one when I moved back up here, and she was basically saying how a lot of the girls around want to go out, take pictures. They need a photographer, but really it's just a bunch of creeps that are out there trying to, get pictures of pretty girls. And I was like, well, I am interested in pretty girls. I'm more interested in my art form, So yeah, that's where it came from. Trying to be the conscientious photographer that's providing a good service to these people that are out here that really need it. And it's gone pretty good.
What I notice is when I'm looking at your Instagram, your carousel here, is that everybody looks comfortable. You'll notice a lot of people who shoot the style of photos you shoot, and you can see it in the girls' eyes. They're a little uncomfortable. They're not feeling the situation 100%. So that's a testament to you. I mean, everybody looks like they're in the zone. They're happy. They're excited that they're there just for the work. They don't have to watch themselves, things like that.
Right.
So that's right. A good skill to have. Sounds like doing that work for your last relationship brought you into a good space, a space that fits.
Yeah. I love the art of it. And it definitely is an art, especially in today's day and age with all the things that are going on. So many people are out here creating their own content pages and people trying to get rich and make profits really fast. And yeah, there's just unfortunately a lot of dudes with cameras that are running around. There's an endless number of guys that bought a Rebel at Walmart, and then they run around. They're like, "Oh, I'm a photographer," and I'm just trying to save them from them, I guess. Um, but yeah, with every shoot that I do, I appreciate my clients, and I've found that through talking to them, that a lot of them, the majority of them, are amazing people, and not like because of their career choices or whatever. They deserve to be treated differently or lesser than and whatnot. It's people doing a job, same as I'm a person doing a job. And I've heard some of the most amazing stories of perseverance out of these people. And yeah, I don't want them to know that they're all respected. I want them to know that they're respected, and I appreciate the opportunity to, you know, show them in a different light. As far as how comfortable they look in the photos, it is like my biggest struggle with them sometimes. Like they're always trying to like throw on a pose and whatnot. I'm like, hey, listen, let's just do this like you are chilling at home, comfortable, being your gorgeous self, you know. And let's go with that vibe. I try to lean more towards leisure with the shoots that I do with these people, and yeah, and it works out like really well. So there's no pressure in there, and I think that conveys in the pictures that we take.
I definitely see it, and I see a lot of pages that they're not comfortable. They're not excited to be there. They don't. It feels forced, and
Yeah,
it really takes away from the overall aesthetic of everything.
all right.
Let's just get the gear question because it's something everybody asks right away. What is your current setup?
Currently for stills and some video, I have a Sony A7 IV.
Okay.
Yeah, picked that guy up a bit ago. Maybe like right after they came out with it. I had an A7 III. And then yeah, just upgraded. And I'm getting more into video now, so I just bought a FX30.
Oh,
That I'm
nice.
kitting out, and yeah, I'm trying out. I just picked up the Ciru, however you pronounce it, Nightwalker lens for it. Got to use it for the first time today, actually. So yeah, working on that, trying to get better with it. I'm like all in Sony now. That's the difficulty I found. It. Like I said earlier on, I started out with a Canon 60D. I want to say I bought it with kit lenses, and I think I bought like maybe one crop sensor lens, and I'm amazed by use of depth of field, and it's kind of hard to do that on kit lenses and cheaper lenses and whatnot. So I bought Canon's Nifty 50, which still one of my favorite lenses. $140. It was tack sharp. The early like Gen 1 one I know was tack sharp. The new one I haven't messed with. But I know that Gen 1 one was tack sharp. It wasn't the toughest thing in the world. I think I went through 3 of them that deployment. But $140, buy spares. I got some really good images out of that. And then I went to a Canon 5D Mark II, I want to say. Bunch of lenses for that. I had my long break where I wasn't shooting. I moved from the East Coast to the West Coast. When I got back into shooting, I was using that Mark II for a little bit, but I wanted to upgrade. I went to Sony and donated. I actually donated that Mark II to another photographer out in Arizona after she broke her camera. She does amazing work. It's Low Desert Body Boudoir, I think is her Instagram, something like that. Was happy to do that. And you've seen Kyla. She's shown up to a few of our meets. She's an amazing model. She's also a photographer. So I think the last of my Canon lenses I handed over to her, and she's done amazing work with those. So it's happy to help people out and to see my gear go to a good place rather than selling it somewhere, getting pennies on the dollar. I'd rather donate it to somebody that's going to get good use out of it, and I can see it later on. It feels like it feels like donating an organ almost, So, yeah, amazing feeling there. Yeah, that's my setup. I'm all Sony right now, thinking about getting into Fujifilm, joining you guys.
One of us.
One of us.
Yeah. Fuji to the core. I love their stuff. My ultimate goal was to get into their medium format, and
Same here.
I finally achieved it. I picked up a 50R not long ago.
Speaking of, you mentioned TTR since I just picked up a Brighton Star 50 millimeter at 0.95, and it's amazing to me. I mean, I have $2,000 lenses, right? And I use them when the mood hits. But I find myself walking around with that Brighton Star on the camera and like only swapping it out if I have to, like if it just won't work in this situation. So it's amazing. Like a $300 lens is now my favorite lens just because of the character and whatnot. And I've been looking at a lot of TTRs and stuff as well, thinking about picking up one of those. They're just fun.
The TT Artisan lenses, they're very affordable, and they seem to their quality has stepped up big time in the last few years. Now we know in the back of your mind, you know Fuji is the best, and you want to come to our
I'm
side.
not saying that. I'm saying that I appreciate what I've seen, and if I'm going to get into medium format, then yeah, that's the way to go. Unless my retirement plan, which is hitting the lottery, comes in, and then it's going to be, Hasselblad and everything.
I'm right there with you, man.
Probably still grab the Fuji just because, their color science and their picture profiles and all that stuff. I've been loving what it is that I'm seeing, and they definitely have a Fuji. You can always tell it was shot on a Fuji. It seems like, you know what I mean. Even if nobody like says, I use my Fuji to shoot this. I feel like with every Fuji camera I've seen, there's definitely a certain look to them, to those photos. And yeah, just appreciate that. I like it. I like to dip a toe in if I can.
Oh, they're a lot of fun. I mean, when I can make it down, take the GFX for a run. See what you think.
Might do that.
It's just I'll warn you now. Once you see the images, you'll have to have it.
Okay. All right. Might do that. Might head over to Glazers and pick one up. Use what they do. I have to stay out of there. Like I have to stay out of camera stores because I walk in there. I'm an impulse shopper. We go in there and making life decisions every time. But yeah.
So a big part of what the Life of Phys is about trying to preach positivity. Phys stands for photography heals your soul. And for me, when I found photography, I was at the lowest part of my life mentally. And I found that being creative brought me out of that mental slump I was in. How do you feel that your creativity caters to your mental health?
It definitely does. I've had my mental health issues as well in the past. And I think just being creative, being dedicated to a creative endeavor and putting that work in and seeing the fruits of your labors is definitely beneficial. Like, who doesn't feel well when they accomplish something, that they've set out to do? And that's what it's been for me. I haven't made a ton of money like doing these shoots. I am definitely, I don't know if I want to say this out loud, but I'm definitely that type that's like when somebody's like, oh, I don't have the money right now. I'm like, well, let's just do a collab. Screw it. I've done that multiple times, It really does help. It really does put me at a place where I would like to be, and in the end of the process, the mountaintop is somebody with portraits and all of this is somebody like changing their Instagram profile picture to one that you took. You know what I mean? Like that's the best feeling in the world. And even people I've had conflicts with have left a picture that I've took up as their Instagram profile for a while. I'm like, you don't like me, but you can't ignore the skills. So yeah, it definitely it is a benefit to my mental health working in this space.
That's how I feel about photography. I feel there's so many aspects to it. I don't like I'm not a big collab person. I like to get paid for my work.
I
but
understand.
but I understand. I understand in this space, there's so many people that do it. Um, what kind of advice would you give somebody, especially people who are just starting? Everybody gets the camera, like you said, they get the Canon Rebel from Walmart. They got a lens. They're a photographer. They want to start charging people right away. They haven't developed a skill set. So my thought process on people on that is, as a new photographer, those are where those collabs really, really make sense. Collab with people, build your portfolio, build your skill set. And then a year or two down the line, once you've put that time in, you've done that work, then think about charging people.
Yeah. When you're working with people, models, and if you're trying to shoot boudoir or portraits or weddings or any of that stuff, I believe it all starts out with a collaboration, and you kind of have to weather those, or, swim those murky waters, those dangerous waters, before you get enough, I guess it's clout, you know, uh, and you can justify like charging people. And I'm saying that there's like uh, um, a time constraint on it. Like if you go out there, you're actually just like in love with the process. You dive head first into it. I've seen people go from being completely new to photography to doing amazing work within 6 months. But I've also seen people that are, they get a camera and they're just, because they don't actually respect the craft, think it's all a bunch of like Photoshop stuff and all of this. They just take a million pictures and then they fall into the published artist trap, that scam that is going on around out there, and put published artists in their bio, and then they're trying to charge people money and they're wondering why no one's coming. You see a whole lot of Instagram posts where they're talking about, people not wanting to pay. If hone your craft and you're doing good work, then people will be in your inbox paying. I'd say for every collaboration I've done, it usually turns into 2 paid shoots. When a person posts it, their friends see it, they want the exact same thing. And for that reason, I see it like as an investment. And then I see there's sometimes somebody there, if things are slow and somebody hits me up, they're excited about working, and they got a look that I really like, I'll collaborate with that person, especially if I've got something new that I want to try out and, nobody's coming around. At the same time, I've hired models. It's all a matter of respecting people and what it is that, they're trying to achieve. Myself and another person, we have a common goal, and it makes sense to collaborate with that person. I have one person I shoot with a lot. She doesn't really have aspirations of being a model, but she does like taking pictures. She does like her sessions. So like if I get a new piece of gear, I normally hit her up like, yo, I want to try this out. Sorry, I'm rambling here.
No, man. This podcast is all about hearing your story and your thoughts and your processes. So there's no worry about rambling.
Gotcha.
The way you just explained it was perfect, because if the way I heard it was that sometimes a collab is a good way to market. It's marketing your brand. You're able to market yourself by helping somebody who doesn't have the funds to do it, but that brings you in 2 paid jobs. So instead of just getting one and people being like, oh, those are cool, but I'm not going to do it because I don't want to spend that money, you get that one that you didn't charge, and then you get 2 people super stoked that want to pay for it. So
right.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
You have any projects you're working on currently?
Not specifically. I have a couple of shoots that are lined up. I'm on my new season now. I tend to take my my inspiration goes like in seasons and align with the year. Nothing like drastically different, like, oh, this year I'm doing black and white, or this year I'm doing color pop or something. I don't know. But just for keeping with consistency and trying to make sure that I'm honing in and, on my vision and whatnot. I try and keep myself to one style like every year. And then I come into the new year like it's a new season. Last year was a season of pastel color tones and dramatic skin tones for me. And this year I'm going really hard into like a minimalistic look. So yeah, and that's what everybody can expect to see out of me this year. Yeah, but other than that, no specific projects, I don't think.
And that's what makes it being an artist so much fun, is that every year you can change it up and we're always learning.
Yeah.
So speaking of your editing style, do you have a certain way that you do it? Do you have a preset that you use that you start and base everything off of? Like your own profile that you created? Or do you just throw it in there and just run with it, see what the mood feels?
I have a couple of presets that I've created. Normally, I like to go based off of the photo. I want to extract from the image itself rather than try and force it to look like something. So, yeah, I start off with that basis. I typically shoot everything third of a stop, like underexposed. So I have that consistency, and I have a few presets that I might throw on something to see if it looks good. But a lot of times I find myself going back to square one, dialing in from there. Like I said, I don't want to force a picture to look like something that it isn't, or have it try and emulate something old that I've done. Creatively, just being challenged by trying to transform that image into its best possible image. I prefer to go that way.
Everybody, at least here, anybody who shoots like family stuff, I laugh because they all have that 99-cent brown preset you see on Facebook.
Yeah.
And they all edit they all edit it with that preset. And you're like, you're all the same. You go to the same places.
Yeah.
It's the same photo over and over and over.
Yeah, I really try hard to avoid trends. I have to say that. I want 20, 30 years from now to look back and be happy at the work that I put out, not have this feeling like, oh, yeah, that's right, we were doing that. Ooh, like I mentioned color pop earlier. Everybody was doing color pop. Now I look at it and I'm like, I think I got a couple that are archived. And I'm like, yeah, like it's just a bad fashion trend. That, and well, what else do we have in the past? Like the HDR effect that everybody was running with for a while.
Orange and teal.
Orange and teal. Goodness gracious. Yeah. Yeah, that was rough. So yeah, I want, like, especially with my clients, I want them 20 years from now to look at the photos and still be like happy about them. You know what I mean? Not look at them and think like, oh yeah, that's that fad we were all following. So yeah, and try and keep away from that stuff.
That was good. You answered my next question.
All right, cool. Sorry, photographer / clairvoyant.
Hey, so I know we talked. I sent out a questionnaire to you just to get a little bit more feel for who you are as a person. I see here that you trained exclusively at the YouTube University.
Yep.
That is also how
I've taken some classes since then, some online courses. I think it is important to invest in your craft. And if there's somebody that's teaching a class or something, and you like their work, you want to expand, I think you definitely should invest and take that class. Initially, it was just YouTube. I mean, I was in the Middle East, like there wasn't any like photography classes that I could take. I was just like, man, how do I figure out this exposure triangle thing that everybody's talking about, So yeah, YouTube, love YouTube.
Inspirations. Who are some of your inspirations?
That it's hard to say because I'm really bad at names. Like, so famous people that are out there, I will say there's Stefan Trotman is a photographer I found him on Tumblr back when Tumblr was amazing. I think his Instagram is like Mr. Shale or something like that. MrCheyl, I believe. I've always loved his work, and he's also a dope soul, an amazing person. If I remember correctly, like he just one day decided he was going to donate an organ to somebody in need. Wasn't a family member that needed or something like that. He's just like, you know what? I got 2 kidneys and hand one over. I don't know, remember if it was a kidney or not, but yeah. And he doesn't put out a whole lot of work, but all of his work is amazing. So yeah, I have been inspired by him. Other than that, it's hard to name someone. I'm inspired by so many people around me that I see, and they're doing great things and following their passions. Even somebody, if the work doesn't exactly appeal to me, I appreciate the work that goes into it. The effort that goes into it. I hold that above everything, above anything. People following their passions and dedicating themselves to the endeavors.
Exactly. A lot of times when I look at photos, I pull everything up so I can see it all at once. And it may only be one that really caught my attention, but every image that people post is a piece of their work. It's a piece of their soul. So yeah. Creating a community over competition type of atmosphere, it's all around building a group of people that are willing to open themselves up and help. What's your thoughts on the community over competition avenue?
I definitely believe in that. I'm so happy that Xander started that group. And we're all able to get together and talk with each other. A lot of times, especially with the way that social media is now, people like to throw shade or hate or whatever. I found a lot of people have this way, they feel like they're bringing themselves up by putting somebody else down. And I just think that's crazy. It's ridiculous. We're all on this planet sharing the same space, and what I'm doing isn't taking away from what it is that anybody does, or at least I'm not setting out to do that. Just setting out to better myself, and we can all learn from each other and support each other. This group is amazing because you see what I do and my clientele. I've been judged by other photographers, like hardcore, blocked by a fairly famous photographer. I think I'd call him more of a Photoshop artist than a photographer. But I was blocked by this person. It's like, oh wow, that's crazy. Yeah, it's unnecessary. We can all come together and create something amazing and support each other and be a great place to be on this planet if everybody was doing it.
And that's what got me is I see the gatekeeping and I see the people who act like their shit don't stink. Talk down to people who are hustling, people who are up and coming. It's already tough to throw yourself out there. It's even worse when you have to throw yourself back out there after someone just ripped your work apart. But what I've learned from doing this podcast, it's only been 3 weeks or whatnot. And I was afraid, man. I was scared. You never know. So I just jumped in both feet, and the amount of positive feedback I've got, the amount of positive emails that I've received already, it just inspires me to keep going, keep pushing it, keep learning. I'm learning as I go. And another thing is I get to meet amazing people like yourself who I consider my friends. And yeah,
thanks, man. The feeling's mutual. Yeah.
Building a community.
And definitely. Yeah, and definitely thank you for doing this. I've listened to every episode. I'm going to continue listening. And I appreciate the mind state that you bring to it. I think another thing I've noticed is a lot of people are, rather than focusing on their craft out here, they're developing this attitude of, I'm hot shit before they actually are. I've seen people that had decent work, like good work, and they aren't growing because they're spending so much time trying to convince everyone that they're the hottest thing ever. Like, God, you're talented. You've been shooting like a year now. And they're trying to get brands and whatnot, brand deals and everything. And I don't know. Today's day and age is just so odd. It is so odd. Instagram isn't about pictures anymore. And I see so many people do amazing work that should be in front of other people, but they aren't getting the likes or the recognition or whatever. I've been shadow banned for so long and I'm not worried about it. I just don't care anymore. People are all about the hashtags and the like count and the exposure and the clout versus the actual work that they're actually putting out there. And I think things are kind of in a sad state right now. So things like this podcast and Xana's group and all of that stuff is definitely good for creatives that are out here.
Yeah, I appreciate the kind words. Maybe a couple months back, I was fortunate enough to go in and speak to a grade 9-10 photo major class. And I started my conversation with them. And my first question always is, do you want to be an artist or do you want to be a social media influencer?
All right.
Most people think being an influencer is where it's at.
Yeah.
But a lot of those influencers in 30 years, nobody's going to remember who they are.
All right.
Whereas an artist, your art can be around for hundreds of years.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's so important for everybody to print their work. Just letting people know it's not about the likes, it's not about the follows. It's about creating a piece of art that, one, if you're stoked on it, in reality, that's all that matters. Two, creating a community of people that are like, can actually speak to you and be like, hey man, if you would have done this, just a friendly piece of advice, do this next time.
All right.
And just see what happens, where you're not going to be offended because your back's not put up against the wall.
All right. I was a part of a Boudoir group a few years ago, back when I was just starting out, and I posted pictures up on there and got ripped to shreds by the people that were in there, and here it is, I'm just trying to break the mold, do something different. The person that ran that group was a Facebook group. She had a piece of property where she did workshops and all of this stuff. And in my head, I'm like, hey, listen, if I'm trying to emulate her, then I can understand the criticism that you guys are giving. But I'm not trying to emulate her work. I'm trying to, create my own look, like, period, and stand apart. This is art. It's not like assembly line building cars or something like that where, everybody's just doing the exact same thing or trying to fit within this niche of all these trends again. And yeah, it is art. It is your own art, and people can appreciate it or not, but it's your heart and soul and passion that manifested, I guess you can call it.
A lot of people create groups like that, and the head person is there because they want everybody to praise them. Mm-hmm. They want everybody to shoot like them. They want their group of minions.
Yeah.
They can be like, I taught them that, right?
Right. I saw a story not too long ago. I wish I had saved it, but it popped up because I opened Google on my phone to look at something. And it was down, how to throw some news stories in front of you. But there was this woman who had passed away, and as her family was going through her things, they found all these negatives. Right. She had picked up photography as a hobby back in the 50s or 60s or something. And she would just go around, take photos. She rarely ever developed anything. Right. But they, in memory of her, start to develop these images and looking at them and realize these images are absolutely amazing. I think they actually developed all the pictures and they were selling them at some auction house. Right. But she had this really amazing style, and she loved taking photos of people through storefronts, how you used to have big window storefronts back there. And the work was just awesome. She did it for the passion of it. Like I said, she rarely developed anything. She was a hobbyist, I guess you call it. She wasn't selling anything or whatnot. but all of everything that was there, I was like, oh my God, these are awesome. That's what the art of it is all about. You know, the light count and whatnot just really doesn't matter, I don't think, at the end of the day.
I agree. That story sounds very, very much like the Vivian Myers story. Sounds like
Is it? I told you I'm bad with names,
yeah.
so that
No,
might be.
I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
It just the process of you explaining it. It just I could be off, but that's what it sounds like. Yeah, because she was the same way. She shot a ton. Nobody even knew who she was until after she had passed, and they found these.
Mm-hmm.
They had a storage locker full of negatives and old cameras and everything, and it all went up for auction.
Yeah,
it's a pretty cool. There's a really good documentary about her. So I love photography documentaries. I watch a ton of them. I'm just inspired. I'm inspired by a time in the past. You know, Robert Frank when he was in his prime. Fred Herzog. Just these people who led the way for where we're headed. So, you know, we're getting pretty good at this. We've got a lot of information covered in an hour. This is I'm liking this.
Has it been an hour?
Yeah, it's almost awesome. An hour.
I do podcasts more often. This just felt like a great conversation between two like-minded individuals.
I appreciate that because that's what I'm trying to do. I want everybody to. Most of the people I've reached out to have never been on one, but I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm looking forward to you know, shaking your hand and getting to know you in person. It's been awesome, man. Yeah. Why don't you let everybody know? I know we talked about socials, Culture to Crown. Do you do a YouTube or anything that anybody else should look out for? Or is your threads?
No, not yet. I'm trying to get post more on social media across different social media sites, but for right now it's just Culture, the number 2, and Crowns is where I'm putting up most of my work. And yeah, website's coming. I mean, it's been coming for like 2 years, but I'm getting really close now. But yeah, it'll be up soon. And then maybe like YouTube later on. I've been thinking about doing some. You did ask about projects. I just bought a Ninja Atmos, so I've been thinking about filming or recording my like editing sessions and posting those as shorts. So that is something I have like in the work, but. Yeah, for right now, Instagram, Culture to Crowns. That's where you can find me.
Well, man, I really appreciate you giving me the time.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for having me. Hopefully, I didn't ramble too much.
It's all about hearing your story. So, thanks for giving me your time today.
Of course, thanks for having me. Share a beer or something.
Heck yeah, I'm down. But as soon as I get that figured out, I'll start making trips. I mean, there's some hotels that aren't too bad around the area as far as price goes. So I stayed in one in Tacoma that felt like a prison, but that's okay. Well,
we might be able to make arrangements for a place you to stay, so you don't have to stay in a hotel or anything like that.
Awesome, brother.
Typically, when I go to the photo meets up there in Seattle, because I live in Lakewood.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard for me to get to them all the time just because of the distance. But I think for the last couple that I've done, I booked an Airbnb and stayed up there. And so we can work something out.
I appreciate that. And I look forward to it, man. I look forward to meeting you in person.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Life of Phys Podcast. I hope you've enjoyed our show, and don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us continue to bring you content and the stories of our incredible guests. And remember to stay connected with us on all social media platforms. It's at LIFE_OF_PHYS or on the internet at www.lifeofphys.com. Thank you for tuning in and have a great day.